Hi, I'm Dan Danford, and we're doing another episode of Money Made Easy for dadsdivorce.com. Today we're going to talk about budgeting, and of course that's a situation that most of us struggle with at least occasionally. We had a query on the website. It seems every time I make a budget, I stick to it for a bit, and slowly I start getting away from it. Then the spending gets too much, so I sit down and create a budget again, and the cycle repeats itself. Do you have tips or tricks on how to actually stick to a budget for longer than a few months? Is this just a sign that my budgets are too small and not realistic if I can't adhere to them? Well, that's a great question. It probably doesn't mean that your budgets are too small. A couple of things come into play. One is I'd refer you out to a father-son team called Ted and Brad Klontz, K-L-O-N-T-Z. They've done a lot of research. They're psychologists on the psychology of money. They wrote a book called Mind Over Money that does a great job talking about what they call money disorders. And spending disorders are one of the biggest. In fact, they say there's more spending disorder in America than there is anxiety or depression. So you can see that touches a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying that your budgeting issue has to do with a spending disorder. I'm just saying if you have an underlying issue of some kind, then talking about budgeting isn't going to solve that problem. So you might just take a look at that and kind of look at their disorder tests and just see if you have an issue like that. If it does, then you need to get that fixed. Okay, now the problem with budgeting, it's a lot like dieting, and that is if the diet or the budget is too rigid, we won't stick with it. Okay, and I'm an expert on this. So what you have to do with a diet is you have to allow yourself a dessert once in a while. Well, it's the same thing with spending. If your spending area that keeps causing you issues is entertainment, say, then just blocking entertainment out of your monthly budget isn't going to work. I mean, you're going to get to the end of the month and you're going to say, man, I need a dinner out, or I need to go to a show, or I need an evening out, you know, and unless you allow yourselves those things once in a while, then you're going to run into problems and you aren't going to be able to live with your budget. And I suspect that's part of what's going on here. The other thing is that most of us don't pay very close attention when we're spending money, especially when we're spending it with credit. You know, there was a famous McDonald's research that was done years ago where people who charged their dinners basically bought twice as much as people who paid cash for them. Okay, well, the same thing's true, you know, when we're out for an evening or we're shopping in our favorite store or we're doing whatever we're doing, we spend money without necessarily thinking about the consequences. It can be very situational. So one of the things I say to people, or a couple of things I say, one is, you know, enjoy a dessert once in a while because that makes it tolerable. The second is know what your hot buttons are. What are those situations that cause you to spend? And just avoid those situations, or allow yourself to indulge in those situations infrequently. You know, instead of going out to dinner 3 nights a week, allow yourself 1 night a week or whatever. It really is, I mean, it's a discipline issue. And most of us don't get into trouble because we don't have any discipline. Most of us get into trouble because we just don't pay very close attention. And budgeting is one of those things, is that we don't want to pay attention, so we don't pay attention, and then we get in trouble, and that drives us right back to what you're talking about, which is that cycle. So I'd say the easiest and best way to take care of the budgeting issue is just to build an awareness all the time, know what your hot buttons are, allow them occasionally, just rule them out most of the time. And hopefully that'll help you do what you need to do. It really is sort of a lifelong discipline. I mean, it really is something that you need to pay attention to, but just paying attention to it will make it better. I hope that gives you some help for this week. Let us know how you're doing. Get back to us on the website so that we know. Thanks for another week of Money Made Easy. We'll see you again next week.